Today's dedication is for Zahn, who gave me a very generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Gishath versus Volrath, Kiora, and Saruman. Well, that's a bunch of mana into a very slow Gishath or Etali, so yeah, I think we have to mulligan on that. And straight into a 2-lander again with no ramp, so we are on the play, but we draw a card on our first turn, thankfully. So I think we just have to try and get into the ramp. It's the only thing we really care about in this deck. Alright, a scroll rack with a couple of shuffle effects I think we'll have to do. We will keep. Throw away the Galter, and we draw into another dinosaur on our first turn. We do have a lot of dinosaurs in the deck, obviously, but yeah, it's ramp that we want to be drawing into. Haven't seen a single piece of ramp yet. So we'll hope for a land next turn so that we can save the shuffle effect for after the scroll rack. But it's not looking hopeful so far. The Jukabog came down and exiled our fetch. Don't think that's going to be of any relevance. A land would be nice here. Cultivate. Yeah, that's alright, I suppose. That means we can go for the scroll rack next turn. Probably not into a cultivate, but you never know. We might manage to get into a means of fast mana. So maybe we can do cultivate and scroll rack in one turn. Anyway, make it Savannah for green mana. Play the scroll rack this turn. Seeing a bounce land from the Kiora player, which I always feel is risky in the early game, but I don't think anyone's going to be going for a strip mine onto that. Golgari Signet for the Volrath. And we managed to keep our scroll rack, that's good. So drawing 2 Swords to Plowshares. We'll probably just put on top of our library so it can go Etali, Aegisaur, Quartzwood, Runic Armasaur, and yeah, draw into Swords to Plowshares next turn most likely. Okay, we do manage to get down a dinosaur this turn at least. Let's go Cavern of Souls. That can name Dinosaur, making our dinosaurs uncounterable. And we'll play out the Marauding Raptor, which is an Enrage enabler. And obviously it's going to be a bit of ramp for us as well, so yeah, scroll rack making all the difference here, I think. Drew into a Thrashing Brontodon and a Burning Sun's Avatar. Wall of Omens from the Esper player enters and draws a card. And then did see Venture Deeper there. I think that was from the Saruman player. Rhystic Study for the Kiora, and we saw milled a Serpent of Yawning Depths, Spawning Kraken, Rishkar's Expertise, and a Jokulmorder. Jokulmorder? Anyway, Devoted Druid being played into the Rhystic Study and correctly paying for that. So we draw into that Swords to Plowshares. I think we're fine to just go for the Cultivate straight away. So let's drop a land now so that we can pay for the Rhystic Study. Typically I like to wait on dropping a land so that we show our opponent fewer cards. But it's worth paying for the Study here. And I don't think anyone's going to play around any of the basics that we grab anyway. So yeah, we've got triple red for the Burning Sun's Avatar. We'll grab a Plains and a green source, play around a Blood Moon effect. And then I'll swing the dinosaur straight down the middle just for 2 damage. Obviously we've just shuffled our library there, so we can look at some more cards with scroll rack if we want to. That's good for stacking the top of our library with dinosaurs as well for when we eventually get the commander into play. A Dispeller's Capsule being played and paying into the Rhystic Study again. And then it's Skyshroud Claim for the Simic player, so ramping ahead nicely. Seeing a big spell already from the Volrath player, that is a Vorapede. Vigilance, Trample and Undying on a 5/4. Paying for the Study again. Alright, excellent, and that gets us into a Mana Crypt, so we can go up 3 mana here, but it would entail having the Rhystic Study player draw a couple of cards. I think going fast and hitting for commander damage would be a good idea, because the Sultai player, or the Simic player, is ramping here, so yeah, let's just go for it. And if the Mana Crypt gets countered, then so be it. Oh, of course, the commander will cost less because of the Marauding Raptor, so we can actually pay into the Rhystic Study once. Instead of the scroll rack should be fine. We'll just try our luck. We don't know what's on top, so it's a bit of a gamble to go for the scroll rack. We might end up with something worse on top of our library. So we'll pay for the Rhystic Study this time, so they've only drawn 1 card off that, which is pretty good going. Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to the Gishath. And then we'll send everything in down the middle. And it's a case of keeping our fingers crossed, really. not impossible to whiff with the Gishath. I think we've got like 35 dinosaurs in the deck, something like that. Just looking at the deck list now, 32 dinosaurs we have, and we managed to hit quite a few of them there. A Rampaging Ferocidon, a Ripjaw Raptor, and a Temple Allosaur. So we'll go for the Ripjaw Raptor first, then the Temple, then the Rampaging Ferocidon, because Ripjaw Raptor is going to... In fact, I think they all come in at once, don't they? But yeah, Rampaging Ferocidon is going to deal damage to the Ripjaw Raptor, and that means that this is going to draw us some cards here. The Temple Allosaur is nice as well because it sends the 2 damage from the Marauding Raptor down to 1, so that can make the difference. Oh, Rampaging Ferocidon deals damage to us actually, it doesn't deal damage to the creature, so I'm getting my Enrage enablers mixed up here. Just damage to the creature from this, and it will only be 1 thanks to the Temple Allosaur. Anyway, we draw a card to the Raptor, just the 1. And managed to draw into a land, so yeah, might be able to throw a Burning Sun's Avatar on top of our library next turn. It's sometimes worth holding on to some dinosaurs in case of a board wipe. We are in board wipe territory already, thanks to the Gishath slamming down some dinos. Undead Alchemist being cast by the Esper player now, so that confirms that the mill is from this player. Rampaging Ferocidon triggers and deals the damage to this player. And now we see Greater Good being played by the Simic player, so if one enchantment means of drawing cards doesn't work, then try the other, I suppose. 4 cards in that player's hand. Alright, now this player deciding to scoop it up. Alright, a Galter is probably good enough to throw on top. So let's throw down a Forest. Tap the Forest and Scroll Rack straight away. And we'll just put the 3 dinosaurs on top. We know we're getting at least 1 good one. Just drawing into lands and a Vanquish the Hordes, so... yeah, it's a good job we've got Gishath in play, hoping that it stays in play. There's every chance that we see a Beast Within or something like that. We will go like that at our opponent. And yeah, our opponent does have that Beast Within, unfortunately, so we know what we're drawing into next turn. I don't think we can afford to get down the Gishath again here. Yeah, I think we can afford it here, thanks to this still being in place, so we'll just get down the Gishath again here. We're potentially playing into a board wipe, but I don't think it's too likely against a Simic player, and the Esper player doesn't seem to be playing around his own board wipe either, because obviously he's playing creatures into the board. Alright, so this costs 10 now, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. Yeah, can't quite afford it, so we'll just hold up Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, that shows the misplay there. There was no real need to go for the Scroll Rack when I did, so should have waited for Galter's trigger to be on the stack before going for the Scroll Rack. Had I have done that, we would have had the mana to recast the Galter straight away, or the Gishath, I should say. Luckily our commander has haste, and as long as we keep the Cavern of Souls, they won't be able to counter it, so it does mean that the Galter we will draw into next turn and don't cheat it into play with our commander. But this does slow the game down a bit, makes it more interesting at least. The Saruman of many colours into play. Kiora playing A3 visits for some more ramp. And now seeing Kiora, Sovereign of the Deep. That has Ward 3, which we can play around here if we want to. Could maybe get some counter magic out of our opponent's hand. And that will maximise the amount of damage that we get through with Gishath, so we'll go for the swords. I am worried about the Saruman a little bit, but I think we'll just try and get rid of 1 blue player at a time here. So sacrificing it in response, our opponent is going to draw some and then discard 3. And that does mean that we've put a Swords to Plowshares in the bin ready for the Saruman to make use of. So likely going to be seeing that thing next turn, I would think. Okay, so we know what we're drawing into here thanks to my hasty Scroll Rack play. We will drop a land, go for our commander again, and then Rhystic Study we will pay into, because I'm not too worried about going for the Scroll Rack again. So again, we'll hope that we don't see a bounce or a Pongify or anything, but we do manage to take down the Simic player, that's good. A Burning Sun's Avatar will only deal 3 damage, so not quite enough to get rid of this unfortunately. Do manage to see a Galter though, so play all of these and await the board wipe, I think. The Burning Sun's Avatar will deal 3 damage to our opponent and then some damage to the Undead Alchemist as well. And then it's some more damage to us from the Ferocidon, and the Marauding Raptor continues to enable Enrage, but don't think we have any Enragers in play at the moment really. It's just this one that will draw us cards. So there we see the Merfolk's Secret Keeper, and now awaiting the second spell. And there it is, Gyruda, Doom of Depths. So pointing the Swords to Plowshares at the Gishath, you would think. We did say that we put that in the graveyard for our opponent to use. Noteworthy, there's a Congregation at Dawn there now as well. So Gishath back into the command zone again, really making use of the haste this game. And then we get milled. Gyruda gets rid of a Topiary Stomper and a Cogler. So out comes the Cogler, ready to fight something, you would assume. So getting rid of the Temple Altasaur, which means we can't attack in as freely now. Alright, but there is an Apex Altasaur, so we could just play that instead of the Gishath, I suppose. Apex Altasaur, a little bit of a nombo with cards like Marauding Raptor, because it'll have some damage dealt to it before this thing resolves, or actually does it? It depends how we put it on the stack, I suppose, doesn't it? But there's way more chance of this thing dying when you've got an Enrage Enabler in play. But we definitely want to make our opponent recast the Saruman. Maybe even this as well, so they can't clone it. So yeah, let's go for that. So Rampaging Ferocidon and the Raptor can go on the stack first, so that we can fight more stuff, even if it means throwing this away. We'll take 5 damage from the Saruman and 6 damage from the Gyruda, I think. We do have to discard our board wipe, which again is risky for the same reason that discarding the Swords to Plowshares was risky. But we do want to see the back of that commander. So damage is dealt to the Altasaur during the fight, which triggers it again. And this is where it's relevant that the Temple Altasaur went down previously. We'll go after the Gyruda. Like I said, we don't want to be seeing clone effects on that thing. So the Apex Altasaur goes down, but it took out some things with it. So swinging with a 12-12. And I think that's all we can go in with here, unless we're looking to go wide on our opponent. Might be worth getting rid of this thing as well, so that they can't blow up the Scroll Rack or the Mana Crypt. Our opponent decided to take it, goes plummeting down to 20. And let's go after the Dispeller's Capsule now. Definitely want to be keeping the Mana Crypt if we can, because we're obviously wanting to cast our commander. Alright, the Cogler swinging in towards us might suggest a board wipe. I think I'll go for the Ripjaw Raptor jumping in the way of that, so that we can draw a card. Might as well throw the Beast in the way as well here. Doesn't have first strike or anything, so yeah, we'll trade with all these and draw a card. Okay, looks like our opponent's having the Ripjaw Raptor survive, surprisingly. Maybe he's looking to gain control of it. Alright, Ripjaw Raptor wasn't dealt damage there for some reason. Oh, I thought this had trample. It's when it enters the battlefield it gains trample and haste. It doesn't just have trample, fair enough. So not dealing any damage to the Ripjaw Raptor, instead just to the Beast. See a Spell Twine into a Dig Through Time. Yeah, I said it was risky, so yeah, our opponent went for Spell Twine there. Exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard and one from an opponent's graveyard. They went after our Vanquish the Horde. Like I said, it was risky to discard it. And they cast a Dig Through Time themselves, which is now about to resolve. Alright, a Realm Walker is going to be some decent card advantage for us, potentially. We're missing 1 mana on our commander now, thanks to the Marauding Raptor going down, so yeah, maybe it's worth just hard casting this stuff. Go for Galter and Mavrin. And I don't particularly want to lose access to the Realm Walker, so I'll make it unblockable next turn, potentially, if we don't get to play the Galter again. Or the Gishath, I keep saying Galter instead of Gishath. And in honour of the Fallen, exile all creatures from all graveyards and you gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. We don't have a means of mass reanimation anyway in Naya, so not too worried about that. Our opponent does jump up to 35 though. So seeing Saruman of many colours come back into play again. And following that up with a Serum Visions, so mills us. There is Etali, Primal Conqueror, looks like we were drawing into on our next turn. Alright, and we see a land, so we can go for our Gishath here, I think. And we just hope that the good luck continues with these dinosaurs. During playtesting I did whiff a few times. Swinging for a bunch of damage. Galter will trigger, we'll make another dinosaur because we've got a 12-12 in play. Oh, it doesn't include its own power and toughness, it's other attacking creatures. Alright, well, still a free 7-7 with trample. So our opponent deciding to take the damage. 7 commander goes down to 9. And we do get some more dinos here. A Bellowing Aegisaur, Goring Ceratops, and Awakening Sun's Avatar. So it's another board wipe our opponent's after, really. Pristine Talisman will gain a little bit of life. Can easily play another spell here, 2 cards in hand. A Death Rattle Oni. Whenever it enters the battlefield, destroy all other creatures that were dealt damage this turn, which is none. They do manage to get themselves a tutor with Congregation at Dawn, though I don't see that that'll do them much good. Did mill from us a Trapjaw Tyrant and a Zatalpa. Yeah, so if it wasn't for the other player scooping, our opponent might have been able to get something done here. It looks as though he's got decent big flashy spells. It's just that we've had some decent luck with our Gishath deck here, helped along by the fact that a third of the deck is dinosaurs. Draw into a Windswept Heath, so let's just turn in sideways here. Goring Ceratop's gonna give everything double strike. Yeah, so Goring Ceratops goes on the stack first, and that way the token is going to gain the double strike as well. We'll make another dinosaur. So that enters, that is a 7/7 double strike trample. And we would hit twice with the Gishath here, not only for more commander damage, but for more triggers as well. So if the game goes on long enough, there's every chance that you'd actually run out of dinosaurs in your deck. We're nearly halfway through the deck here. But luckily, it is a big smashy deck, so you should be able to blast your opponents into oblivion before that happens, and our opponent graciously takes it. See if the client shows us what we were going to see there. No, unfortunately not. If our opponent had been able to get rid of all of our creatures there, then we still had the Realm Walker to maybe get some more dinosaurs into play. Obviously have a shuffle effect in the Windswept Heath as well, so if we don't see a dinosaur on top, we can maybe put one on top with that. But yeah, surprisingly, I haven't built a Gishath deck before. I ran Atla Palani back in the day, but never built Gishath, and this is an ever popular one, so hopefully you all enjoyed this version of it. Deck list is in the description as ever. Huge thank you to the patrons for their constant support of the channel as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.